Hello, my love. Welcome, gorgeous soul. That's the intro I say on my podcast, so I figured it would work here too. Welcome to my very first Paige Cole Confessional. So I am super excited about this new YouTube channel that I am launching. And the flow of how the show's style is going to go is I'm going to have a vlog style episode, which was what the episode 1 was, the stripper lip pump. Go check that out if you haven't read that or if you haven't watched that yet. So it's going to be like a vlog style, and then it's going to be a confessional style, which is like this. I've always wanted a reality show since I was little, and so it's like, well, then I'll just make one, right? And my favorite part about reality shows was the confessionals, where they would be sitting there in the room and they would be interviewing, and I was always like, I need to do that one day. So it's like, here we go. Ask and you shall receive, or in my case, ask and you shall create it, right? So this is a confessional, and what these episodes are going to be is essentially kind of like storytelling. I'm going to be answering the most commonly asked questions. I'm going to be telling juicy details about the club. We can't really show anything on the show about the actual club because there are guidelines and rules for what can and can't be shown. So these confessionals will be the spot to dig into those juicy details. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure that you go follow me there. It's at the.paige.cole. I like to do polls on my stories. Poll. Wink, wink. No, but I like to ask my audience questions about, what do you want to know about stripping? What are the commonly asked questions and stuff? Because I want, I want to hear what you guys what questions you have, because I know there's a lot of questions about strippers and about stripping and about the industry and about all of the inner workings of that. So make sure that you follow me there so you can follow along. So today is the first Paige Cole Confessional, and I figured that the best topic today to kick this off would be, how did I get started stripping? So whenever I tell someone I'm a stripper, or whenever someone finds out, the first question is always like, how did you get started? How did you even start stripping? Like, what made you want to start? So I figured that would be a great story for me to tell. So I'm going to bring it back to my childhood and kind of like how I grew up and how I was from a very young age, because I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I am a stripper and kind of where my life went. So when I was little, I loved being naked. I didn't want to wear clothes. I would get home from wherever, the school or wherever we were, and I would rip my ponytail out and I would take off all my clothes, and I just wanted to be naked. I just didn't want to wear clothes. And my mom, everyone knew. They just knew that Paige doesn't like to wear clothes. And one day, one of my aunts was talking to my mom, and she made a joking comment like, I bet Paige is going to be a stripper. And who knows if that, subconsciously planted in my mind or whatever. But that also, me and my sister, like the culture of my family, when we were really little, like 2-3 years old, before we would take a bath, we would get naked and we would do the naked dance, and we'd be like, naked girls, and we'd run around the house and we'd be like, naked girls, and just laughing and playing and having fun, and my parents would laugh and play with us, and it was never shameful. It was never like, cover your body or, anything like that. And so it was okay for me. And to be honest, if someone would have shamed me, even at a young age, I'd probably have been like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, that's just how I've just always been so comfortable being naked. Like, I just am. Like, that mixed with just like growing up, not being shamed for it or anything. And so that I just always found that to be really fascinating. Also, when I was young, whenever I'd watch movies and there would be a stripper or a belly dancer or a burlesque girl or someone sexy dancing with like lingerie on, I was so drawn to them. Not in a sexual way. I am not into chicks sexually, like, at all. Strictly dickly for me, like no chicks. So it wasn't like a sexual desire that I was like drawn. I was just fascinated and like captivated by these beautiful, sexy women. And I was like, I want to be like them. And I just thought it was so interesting. Who knows, maybe I was a stripper or a goddess or something, harem, I don't fucking know, in another lifetime. But I was always drawn to that from a very, very, very young age. My favorite Disney character was Jasmine from Aladdin. And it was because she was like this exotic princess, and her outfit was like a belly out. Like she had this top and these like bottoms, and it was like this sexy belly outfit. And I feel like that was one of the reasons why I loved her so much. Even at a young age, like 4 or 5, she was my absolute favorite. So there was that side of the equation, right? The nakedness and the allure to the beautiful women dancing. But then the other side is the money, right? I have always been really fascinated by money and drawn to money, and always super open about talking about money. You know, my mom is a bit more conservative, quite a bit more conservative than I am. And so she didn't like talking about money, and I never understood that. Like I didn't understand why I can't ask questions about money, why I can't learn about money. You know, talking about money is a very taboo subject for a lot of people. And it comes from different age ranges and how people grew up, but people, it's about judgment. They think that they're going to be judged for having too much or not having enough, or making too much or not making it enough. And it's like, when you don't talk about money, those judgments, that taboo, that's actually your own judgment on yourself. I am of the belief that like the more that we talk about money, the more that we normalize it, the more information people can get about it, the more that they can heal their own money mindset around money and be financially stable for themselves. Money, so essentially, I've always been drawn to money. I've always been open about talking about money, and money is a motivator for me. You know, people are motivated by 3 different things. They're motivated by recognition, which is getting like shout outs and just recognition. People are motivated by a cause. So, you know, feeding the hungry, or, you know, something horrible happens, some sort of a cause. People are motivated by that, or they're motivated by money, honey. And I'm motivated by money, right? I mean, we're motivated by all of those, but dominantly I'm motivated by money. And so the combination of those two essentially is just like, I was made to be a stripper. If you really think about it, if you put the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's so funny how everything's evolved now to where my business is, you know, because I coach on money. Like money manifestation is one of my favorite things to coach on. In my business, in my online business now, I have a process for how I like to work with dancers, and I teach them. I have a course on teaching them how to be the best stripper they can be, operating their dancing business like a 6-figure business. And then the next step is, okay, now that you're a good dancer, you're a good stripper, now let's learn how to manifest more money. So I have a whole money manifestation program, Mind Your Money, Honey. And then the next step is my Rainmaker Academy, which is, it's all about business building, because the Rainmaker, they're the one who like calls the shots. They're the one who's like making it rain, you know, like they are the head honcho, the head bitch in charge. And so that's my business building program. So it's like boom, boom, boom. It's like, it's the ascension for working with me in my business, which is so fucking cool, because all strippers need an exit strategy. You know, nobody wants to dance forever. If you do, cool, but also why not have something on the side? So that was a little sidebar. But anyways, money is one of my favorite things to talk about. I have a ton of podcasts on it. I have a whole, you know, an entire program on it. But so the money, the love of money and learning about money and money manifestation mixed with nakedness and that, you know, is a combination of what, you know, kind of led me to dancing. When I was young, even in like middle school, I knew I always wanted to try dancing. And I remember having the conversation with myself like, Paige, if you don't just try, like when you get older, you are going to be so mad that you didn't even try. Like I always knew from a very young age that I wanted to be a dancer. And I know that sounds weird. I grew up in, you know, middle class. Like we always had enough money to do things. You know, we didn't have a ton of money, but I lived in a nice house. I got to play sports, do gymnastics, do club volleyball, go on trips. Like I always had clothes. I was always provided for. So it wasn't like this need to, this desperation for money, or, you know, I don't have a child. It's not like a single mom thing. It was never like that. It was purely from the things, you know, the love of money and also dancing, and just that whole thing is where it came from for me. And so when I was 19 years old, I was living in Federal Way, Washington with one of my friends. And I remember I was working at the Olive Garden, and I fucking hated it because the people who would go there were so rude, and they would stiff us all the time. And when you work at a restaurant, especially a corporate restaurant like Olive Garden, you have to be nice. Like if someone's being rude to you, you can't just be rude back to them or you're going to lose your job. And so it was like me sitting there having to just like deal with all these rude people and then not get tipped. And I was just like, I fucking hate this. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I just want to try stripping. And then one of my good friends who lived in California, in San Diego, she started dancing. And I remember I was at work at the Olive Garden having a horrible shift. I just got stiffed for the second time in a row that shift. I remember I went and checked my phone, and my friend had texted me, and it was her first shift ever, and she made $327. I remember that like the back of my hand, because at that time I was like, oh my God, like that was so much money, you know? And I was like, I have to try. And so my human design is I'm a generator, and my human design is to respond, if you know anything about that. So I saw that text, and my response was like, yep, I'm gonna do it too. So I called the clubs in the area, got the information, and got all the details. And how it worked where I was living at the time was you had to go to the club to audition. And if you, the audition was like an amateur night. And however many girls were there would all do the amateur night, and then whoever won amateur night, they were offered a job at the club to work there. But you also have to have a license to be a dancer. You know, it is a legit profession. You have to go actually get licensed, just like a lawyer has to pass a bar and a doctor has to, you know, pass his test and his or her test. And also, you know, servers have to have food handlers cards. You know, dancers have to have dancers cards. In Vegas, it's called a sheriff's card. In San Diego, where I live now, it's called an adult entertainer permit, but there's like a legit license that you have to get. And so the way that it worked up in Washington is I had to do amateur night. And so I had only ever been to a strip club one time as a customer, just because I was purely curious. So I was like, all right, fuck it. This is what I gotta do. So one of the girls who worked with me at Olive Garden in my training group, she was a little bit older, and she used to dance. And when I found out, I was like, oh my God, you have to come over and help me. So she came over to my house, and she like showed me what a lap dance was. And she like, she showed me how to dance on stage. And I was like, okay. So I like practiced, pulled the mirror out. I was practicing. I bought a pole from, you know, Spencer's or something. And I was practicing spinning around. I was so nervous to do amateur night, but I was like, I'm going to do this. You know, I'm committed. Like, I want to be a stripper. And so amateur nights were happening. They happen one night a week. And so it was, I started dancing at the Deja Vu in Tacoma, Washington. And so I went there that night for amateur night. And I think there was about 10 girls auditioning. And of the 10 girls auditioning, 8 of the girls were strippers from other clubs who wanted to work at this club. And so immediately I was like, well, I'm fucked. I've never done this before. And I was like 19. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to try, right? So amateur night goes on, and you go up and you do your song. And how amateur night works is you go up on stage and you do a stage set, and then people vote. So they have like judges in the crowd, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna do my best. So like, if I don't win, that's okay. There's like other professional strippers here who've done this before, you know. But I'm the 19-year-old Paige with like these big fake titties and this big fat ass, and I know how to dance. So needless to say, I won amateur night that night. And after winning amateur night, you know, I got offered a position at the club, and they also paid for my license, which is how it worked up there. And so, you know, the next day or the day after that, very soon after that, I went and I got licensed. I did all the stuff. And then I went in and I worked my first shift as a stripper. And that is how the show started, ladies and gentlemen. I remember, though, when I was going up on stage, the very first time when I was going up on stage, the very first set of songs that I danced to, the first song was Usher, Nice and Slow. And the second song was T-Pain, Whatever You Like. Is it T-Pain? Yeah, it's You Can Have Whatever You Like. It was that song. So those were my 2 first songs ever. And I remember walking up there, and I remember thinking in my head as I'm going up the stairs, I'm thinking like, you don't have to do this, Paige. You don't have to do this. It's okay. You don't have to do this. And then it was like, I got on that last step, and I was like, fuck it. We're doing it. I just did it. But that's the story of how I first got started stripping. So thank you so much for watching this episode of the Paige Cole Confessional. Stay tuned next Wednesday for the next episode of the Paige Cole Show. It's a fire episode. Don't miss it. Make sure to subscribe to my channel, like and comment on this video. Also share it if you are so inclined, and share the love. Listen to my podcast, the Make It Rain podcast, if you want more informational, instructional info as a stripper on how to be a better stripper, on money manifestation, on business building. It's a really fire resource for strippers and for non-strippers too, actually. Follow me on Instagram, the.paige.cole. Screenshot anything you want, throw it up on your story. I'm doing my little announcement section here because I have to take the opportunity, right? Anyways, if you like this video, throw it up. Tag me on Instagram. I love seeing the tags, and I always share it back. And with that being said, make it rain, baby.